With Cadillac presenting new benchmarks for sports sedans with their ATS, CTS, and CT6, the pressure is on to roll with that inertia as they unveil their newest line of mid-size luxury crossovers, starting with the XT5. Hi, I'm Mike Perkins from CarGurus, and this is the all-new 2017 Cadillac XT5 Platinum. Replacing the brand's best-selling SRX, the XT5 is actually an evolution of that model, despite being built on an all-new chassis. Cadillac took the same formula that made their sports sedans so successful, stiff, responsive, lightweight platforms, and applied it in the XT5, which boasts a curb weight nearly 300 pounds lighter than the outgoing SRX. They achieved this through the use of high-strength steel and laser welding in the chassis. But while the XT5 is good, unfortunately, I don't think it has the chops to really disrupt the luxury mid-size crossover segment in the same way that Cadillac shocked the sports sedan world in the last decade. The distinction comes down to its aims, I think. Meeting the Germans when it came to ride and handling was an admittedly hefty goal. So when Cadillac was able to offer alternatives that came anywhere close to BMW, Mercedes, Audi, everyone nearly lost their minds. But if you look at the marketing for the XT5, you're going to repeatedly see mentions of the Jaguar F-Pace and the Porsche Macan as competitors. And that's just not a fair comparison. If you put them up side by side, you're going to be disappointed. However, if you replace those for more logical rivals, things like the Lincoln MKX or the Lexus RX 350, well, then the XT5 can put up a good fight. The difference being, unlike with the Jaguar or the Porsche, here you're never going to get away from the idea that the Cadillac is just a optioned up GM, just like the Lincoln is a Ford and the Lexus is a Toyota. The gauges and the infotainment screen are the perfect example here. They're pretty and they're functional, but they weren't designed specifically for the XT5 or even for Cadillac. They were just pulled from a parts bin. So you get this kind of mishmash of different styles and fonts and designs. And I mean, it all works really well. It's just a reskinned and massaged version of Chevy MyLink, which is great. But I still think that a lot of consumers will be utilizing Apple CarPlay and Android Auto here. And while I like the sleek design, I'd prefer at least a couple of knobs or buttons because the interface just really isn't fully up to the challenge of being totally without them. You know, without any kind of haptic feedback or physical buttons, you end up having to look away from the road again just to make sure that you actually hit what you were aiming for. And this volume dial, it just doesn't work very well. Not reliably anyway. I just found myself defaulting to the steering wheel volume buttons after a few tries. Really, it's the little things that end up holding the XT5 back. I mean, look at this interior. It's sexy and fresh and everything is right within reach. There's even real wood and metal in here, but when you start looking a little bit deeper, that's when things start sticking out. I mean, there's way too much scratchy, hard plastic in here. And for the sub 40 grand base price, I don't think anyone's gonna bat an eye. But this platinum trim I'm in, this is just a few $dozen short of 64 grand. How much forgiveness are you gonna have at that price? I have the same gripe with the drivetrain. The 310 horsepower 3.6 liter V6 is more than adequate for the job here, using its 271 pound-feet of torque to propel this 4,000 pound crossover to 60 miles an hour in 6.6 seconds. But it's simply not as refined as the engines in the X3, the GLC 300, or the Q5 to keep it German. And all of those will get you to 60 somewhere between 5 and 6 seconds flat. The fact that you get the same engine here at $40,000 as you do at 65 is sure to upset some buyers, especially when there's a turbo 2-liter and the CT6's twin-turbo V6 just sitting there waiting to impress. Plus, this 8-speed automatic can get kind of lurchy and jerky, especially when you're using small throttle inputs. And even though it's rated at 15 city miles per gallon and 21 highway for a combined rating of 17, I've never been able to average over 14.5. That's disappointing. That said, it's the chassis that's the real MVP here. It offers a level of balance that you don't usually see in a crossover. And you couple that with the torque vectoring all-wheel drive that's optional on the mid-level trims and standard here on the top-tier Platinum trim. And there are actually some surprises to be had. Now, I mean, it doesn't add up to a particularly engaging or even exciting ride, but if you push the XT5 through a corner and you start losing traction, you're not going to get the abundance of understeer that you'd expect. Instead, that torque vectoring takes over and you can feel it powering that outside rear wheel. It allows you to keep your line and adjust a little bit, even almost steer with the pedal. It's a real nice mix between the plush luxury of the RX 350 and the athleticism of the Q5, and honestly, one I think is going to resonate really nicely in this segment. Now, automotive journalists tend to focus on performance, but that doesn't mean your typical XT5 consumer is going to follow suit. I'm guessing technology is going to fuel those fires even more, and the XT5 is packed to the gills. Even in base trim, you get standard rear parking sensors and camera, LED running lights, power rear liftgate and power tilt and telescoping wheels, dual zone auto climate control, keyless entry and ignition, and even remote engine start. And every XT5 gets the 8-inch touchscreen with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto included, all pumped through a Bose 8-speaker system. Luxury adds heated seats with driver memory, a heated steering wheel, an auto-dimming rear view, and a panoramic sunroof, but also adds to the safety with front parking sensors and blind spot monitoring with rear cross-traffic alert. Move up to premium luxury and you'll get the driver awareness package, an option for the luxury trim that adds forward collision alert with pedestrian detection and automatic braking, lane departure warning and intervention and auto high beams. But I think what will really get people starting with the premium luxury trim are features like the 20-inch wheels, ventilated seats, and continually adjusting suspension dampers. Now, before you get too excited, this isn't the same magnetic ride control that we've seen in the CTS-V, the C7 Stingray, the Camaro ZL1. This is a damping control system like they use in the Buick Regal GS. It's still good, it's just not as good. Here in the all-wheel drive only Platinum, you get trim-specific 20-inch wheels, upgraded leather, heated seats in the back, 3-zone climate control, and a unique display for the cluster. You also get some interesting visual aids like a heads-up display, 360-degree top view camera system, and a rear camera mirror that shows you the view from behind unobstructed by headrests or pillars. It's a little disorienting at first, but it's an innovative solution to rear visibility that competitors are already starting to copy. What's really surprising is that even at this level, this $64,000 level, the driver assistance package that'll add adaptive cruise and automatic parking and an upgraded collision avoidance system, that's still not standard. And adding it means tacking on an additional $2,300 to your bill. But regardless, with the XT5 you'll get plenty of room. On the outside, it's actually about an inch shorter than the outgoing SRX, but they've stretched the wheelbase almost 2 inches, which means a lot of extra room on the inside. At 6'4", I've got plenty, front or back, and storage stands at 30 cubic feet with those rear seats up. Drop them and it more than doubles to 63. Plus, luxury trims and above get this cargo management system, which, while it feels a bit cheap, is exactly the sort of thing that should just be on every SUV and crossover on the market. Bottom line, the XT5 is good. It's actually quite good. But the reality is, if you're putting it up against options like the X3, the Macan, and the new F-Pace, the rivals are just showing up with better names, better engines, and more refinement. There are no downscale brands in their families to depress you, whereas the XT5 is always really ready to remind you that you're just buying an optioned up GM. But stop making those unfair comparisons and the story changes quite a bit. If you're considering a luxury crossover from Lincoln or Lexus, give the XT5 a look. I don't think you'll be disappointed. Hey, thanks for watching. For more car reviews, just subscribe to the channel, and to read my full review of the 2017 Cadillac XT5, just click the link in the description.